No, you're not hallucinating. This is a manga review on this channel on something other than 100 Girlfriends. This new series was brought to my attention by the scanlation team that does the 100 Girlfriend scans, as they have picked up this series to do as well. Not only that, but the author is a fan of 100 Girlfriends, and it's quite apparent it was his inspiration once we go over these two chapters. So I decided to check it out. And you know what? It seems very promising. And with only 2 chapters out so far, I thought it might be fun to hop on the train for this series and cover it from the start, and introduce more people to it. Since you guys like 100 Girlfriends, you might like this series just like I did. So we have 2 chapters to go over, let's not waste any time. I'm Moonlight150, and this is my review of Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 of the manga series, I Can't Choose a Childhood Friend. Like with 100 Girlfriends, I won't be going over everything in the chapters as I encourage you to support the official release, as well as the scanlations now being done by the same team as 100 Girlfriends. I will leave a link to the series in the description below. Now, on to the premiere. The chapter opens up with the introduction to our main character. Meet Yu Suzukaze. After failing his audition to become the next protagonist of a Beyblade anime, he has decided to live a simple life of not making decisions. As he puts it, never need to hesitate, and live a life free of unnecessary problems. Somehow this also translates to just not liking anything in life. Look at his room. No posters or anything on the wall, and nothing on his desk. Not a thing around. Not a shred of personality in his room whatsoever. More examples of this extreme avoidance lifestyle, such as taking the road less traveled to school, so he doesn't bump into anyone and must engage in small talk. Okay, I kind of understand him on that part. So he spends his time in a park up on a hill, just so he can make it to school just on time. But it turns out he does have another reason. Staying up at this park lets him reminisce. But his trip down memory lane is interrupted when he finds someone at his usual hiding place. He notices a young girl wearing his school uniform, enjoying a cup of tea at his usual spot, when a gust of wind blows her stuff around, but seems to be unbothered by it. She then decides to strike up a conversation with you, saying it's her first day at this school since transferring, and she got lost in the way and is currently on a bit of a recess, currently unbothered by being late on her first day or not. The girl takes it upon herself to ask you to show her the way to school as she grabs his hand. He pulls away, asking her to not grab his hand since he has someone that he likes. Which I guess touching another female counts as cheating on the girl you haven't seen or talked to or kept in contact in 10 years, huh? Cut to a flashback as we learn more of Yu's reasons for not wanting to make decisions in life. Turns out when he was a kid, he had a girl who spent the summer with him, but when it was time for her to leave and go back home, he couldn't decide what to say. And only after when she left did he realize that he liked her, and if he didn't hesitate to say anything, he might have been able to stay in contact with her. Back to the present, and this girl has a wonderfully mischievous grin about her, wanting to hear the gossip of the girl he admitted that he likes. But he runs off without saying anything. She tries to get him to come back by saying finding someone else to help her would be too bothersome, as also charging her phone proves to be too bothersome as well. We're quickly learning that this girl just can't be bothered by much. Also, I love this visual gag of I'm dead on her phone. He makes a break for it as running is deemed too bothersome by her as well. Confident he got away since he knows the area and she doesn't, only for her to pop up around a corner. And they end up falling on top of one another, classic anime trope. The only thing missing is that one of them should have toast in their mouth. But as it turns out, no matter how bothersome she finds him, she admits she likes people like that. Accepting defeat, he agrees to show her the way to school, but to keep a safe distance away from him. Can't let the girl from 10 years ago that you haven't been in contact with be jealous now, can we? But the girl turns out to have lost something in the scuffle. Though she says looking for it would be a bother, but her eyes tell a different story. She turns around to head back to the park to look for it. He calls her out for turning her vocabulary back on her, saying that looking for it and being late for school would be too bothersome for her. And we see a new side to this girl irked by his comments. As it turns out, not looking for it would be more bothersome than looking for it. So she is choosing the lesser of the two bothers, choosing to go back to look for it. But as she is walking away, Yu notices a twinge in her leg. Most likely from when they fell on top of each other. Watching this girl go off on her own without any hesitation triggers another flashback, back to when he was bullied for being the solitary type, when a bright and cheery girl picked him out of the crowd and asked him to show her around town. When asked why she picked him, she simply replies he was the first one she saw, another girl who just acts on impulse, teaching him to be more straightforward and honest. Having this flashback inspires Yu of the promise he made to himself, to not have regrets. So he goes and picks her up to get her off her hurt leg. which fails miserably as he isn't built like our Chad Rentaro and isn't able to carry another person so easily. She tells him to put her down, but he reiterates that this is his choice and he will see it through, firing back at her that it would be bothersome to him to leave her alone, and admits that he admired that she acts without hesitation. As they make it back to the park, they begin to look around for the object that she lost. Thankfully, she finds it right away, thinking the wind from earlier blew it away. She admits that this is the one thing she cannot afford to lose. It turns out to be a wish-granting charm that she bought with someone very important to her. And with that realization, he blurts out the name Karen Machihashi, admitting that's the name of the girl he has liked for 10 years. To which she responds with realizing that the man she has been pestering this whole time was you. And in case you haven't caught on yet, yes, the girl from the flashbacks is the same girl he is talking to now. 10 years makes recognizing one another pretty difficult if you never stayed in contact. They go in for a loving embrace after 10 years of longing for one another. Cue another flashback and we see Yu broken for not talking to Karen on that day. And every day since then he has prayed to that charm hoping to see her again. They have their reunion with her poking fun that he hasn't changed all that much in 10 years, and they come just in time before the gates of the school close. Karen is then introduced to her new class, and to their delight, Yu and Karen will be sharing a class together. Overjoyed at being able to experience what most teenage boys dream about, having a class and enjoying high school with the girl that they love. Only to be interrupted by the other new girl in the class, who loudly and proudly proclaims herself as Karen Machihashi. What does this mean? How are there two girls named Karen Machihashi? Tune in next week to find out. I've been Moonlight150, and I will see you all again on the next Wait, I said I would cover both chapters in one video? Oh. Okay then. I guess I'll get started on that now. Chapter 2, I Have Always Loved You, opens with this new girl also proclaiming to be Karen Machihashi. Karen is understandably upset at the situation, and proclaims she must be impersonating her, thinking a coup of some sort is happening, and well being a general bother. Notice a pattern with this Karen already? They are quick to notice that this new Karen is way more extroverted, and is quickly making friends with the other classmates. Yu begins to ponder about the new Karen, already noticing her eyes and even beauty mark is spot on to the Karen that he has been reunited with. New Karen then comes to chat with Yu and is straightforward with her asking if he is Yu Suzukuze from 10 years ago, showing that she also has all those memories. When he confirms, she is quick to jump on him much like the other Karen did, proclaiming she was hoping to run into him again after all this time. Yu continues his suspicion that maybe she's mixing him up, but Suzukuze is a pretty rare name apparently. And even if she did have the wrong guy, at least it makes the encounter funny, showing this Karen is much more glass-half-full positive outlook at life than the other Karen. When asked if he is happy to see Karen again after 10 years, OG Karen comes barging in to stop whatever flirting may be happening. The two get into a scuffle of one Karen calling another Karen an imposter. They bicker a bit before Yu comes up with a solution to prove who the real Karen is. Yu pulls out the charm that he got with Karen 10 years ago. He already proved Karen number 1 has one, so there must be no way that this second Karen does, right? Wrong. She totally does. After a bit more questioning and correct answers, OG Karen has one last trick up her sleeve, and checks that this Karen also has a mole on the inside of her right thigh. There's no denying it now, these two are Karen Machihashi. After this bruh moment, the charm that Yu is holding begins to shake. Freaked out, Yu throws the thing skyward, but it then stands up on its own and then begins to communicate through printed notes. The charm introduces itself as an artifact spirit, a so-called Tsukumogami, and then proceeds to give us some exposition, but not before OG Karen calls the whole printed note form of communicating a bother. To summarize, due to Yu's excessive wishing on the charm over the last 10 years, the spirit took this as to think that if there were more Karens, it would be even better, and that's what he did. He made multiple Karens, all having parts of her personality split among the different Karens, a la Ring of the Nine Dragons from Shaolin Showdown. This explains why they all have the same memories and the same charm. And here comes the but. The spirit tells him that he can only realistically spend time with only one person, so that he must make a choice, between the can't be bothered Karen or the bright side Karen. Oh good, the series gave them some names so I don't have to call them number 1 and number 2 or OG. Hell, I was about to call the bright side Karen Akko just to make things easier for me. But once he chooses one, the other will disappear, and now he only has until after school to decide. Kind of short notice for such a big decision. They return to class and Yu ponders his current situation, and given what we know about him, yeah, there's no way he's going to be able to choose. The day slipped away as he was rightfully worrying about his choice the entire time at school. Brightside Karen tries to bring Yu's mood up and yanks him away, which only just reminds him of that time 10 years ago. When Yu is reminded of another stipulation in his situation. If he can't make a choice, then both are going to disappear. He says he regrets making that wish that led to this outcome, but Brightside reassures him that she's okay with it because it meant they got to see each other again. She's not letting it bother her, as she says she is all about good vibes and having fun, and I'm sure she has live, laugh, love plastered all over her room somehow. But then drops a subtle hint that maybe there is another option to his choices. After that bit of inspiring reassurance, Yu and Brightside go their separate ways, only for the two Karens to meet up. They both admit they are happy to see Yu, but are worried about the possibility of just simply disappearing if he doesn't make a choice. Which is only made more apparent because they are the same person, so of course they have the same line of thought. And they laugh it up as they are basically just talking to themselves. They all meet up on the school rooftop. Gee, that seems awfully familiar. And the charm tells him that he needs to make his decision. The two Karens vouch for the other one that's not themselves, and then ask Yu to look after the other one, both willing to accept not being chosen. But Yu bucks the idea and talks about how meeting the first Karen taught him to not run away from choices, and that the second Karen taught him that he doesn't have to be stuck with the options placed in front of him, and because of that, he's making his own rules and choosing both Karens. The charm panics, saying that he can't do that, but apparently there is no rule against it because nothing happens following that. Neither of them disappear, as Yu proclaims that he can't choose because he vowed that no matter who she became in the years they were apart, that he would always love her. As he begs the charm to accept his answer, the charm mentions how absurd this is. I mean, you're the one who created this whole situation. And how weird it is to be loving all of someone. The charm decides to roll with the idea of him choosing both Karens, but Yu ruins the moment by asking the charm to split him into two as well. Which, honestly, is a good question, but nothing happens on it since the scene moves on. The emotions get to Yu as he admits that he's just happy to finally be with Karen again, even if there are now two of them. He asks both of them for a reply for his love confession, but it seems like he'll have to wait for tomorrow as they head separate ways going home. The two Karens enjoy a chat heading home, when it turns out both of their homes are the exact same location, and they look up at what is presumably their house with a shocked expression. The next day back at school, Yu is happy to experience going to school with Karen. As the two Karens greet him, they seem flustered about something and ask if he could come by her house after school, and we are left on a cliffhanger. Whew, that was a long one. Remind me to never cover 2 chapters in the same video again. On to the review itself. I won't take too long since who knows how long this video will be by this time, but there are a few things I want to point out. The inspiration from 100 Girlfriends is very clear, from the supernatural setup by a divine being meddling in someone's love life, to the school rooftop, and the love proclamation to 2 girls at once. Okay, the rooftop one is probably just a standard Japanese thing in general, but you see what I mean. Some props I have to give this manga. Much like 100 Girlfriends, I like that there is no beating around the bush regarding do they like me or not. If it wasn't for the duplicate girl twist, we would have gotten a normal relationship from these two from the get-go on chapter 1, much like 100 Girlfriends. But I guess that's because of the setup of the 2 series. The series isn't about 2 people falling in love. It's about loving someone under crazy supernatural circumstances. So instead of the usual rom-com where they take the entire series to confess, instead we get a confession and relationship right out of the gate, but with a twist so it makes it not so smooth sailing. And I honestly prefer these kind of rom-coms more so than waiting 100 chapters for them to finally admit feelings for one another. Please, more of this kind of series. Another thing I want to thank the series on is the fact that they use the old trope of the long-lost childhood friends reuniting, but they don't recognize each other, and got that out of the way immediately by the end of chapter 1. So many manga and anime do that. I had this girl I hung out with when I was little. This girl in my class is a lot like her, but no way that's her. Oh wait, it really is her. And I wish we the reader didn't know about it. Alia hides her feelings in Russian. And I do like the message that they are saying near the end here, that you should love all sides of a person and not just one. So him choosing to love all sides to Karen is a good message to have and show. So all in all, I like how this series is going so far. It has a lot of 100 Girlfriends energy to it, which I dig. And I'm curious to find out what is going on with their home that we didn't see. Just the 2 Karens' faces to the horrors of it. Also, we know there will be more Karens. In the artwork we see at minimum 6 Karens, Though we do technically see 7, but I think this one is just flashback young Karen. Unless young Karen will also be another character, who knows. I'm also really digging the art style and enjoy just how expressive the Karens have been so far. We'll be curious to see if they drop all the Karens at once or one at a time. A new harem manga where they're all technically the same girl. Eat your heart out, pseudo-harem. Let me know what you all think so far. Go check out the full chapter 1 and 2 and come back and let me know if you want me to cover this series as well. It's a monthly release series, so it shouldn't interfere with my coverage of 100 Girlfriends too much. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you wish to see more of this. And if you're new here and found this video because of this series, I also cover the weekly chapters of the 100 Girlfriends manga and do theories and other content related to that series. So subscribe and check out that content if you haven't yet. I've been Moonlight150, and I will see you all again on the next upload.